Hello friends, this video on Kingdom Animalia part 11 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So with this we end our discussion on Porifera. We will move on to the next phylum, that is Coelentrata. So here also we will first discuss the basic characteristics which define the organisms of Coelentrata. They have better body differentiation than Porifera. As I said, as we go ahead, we are actually moving down that list which I mentioned some time back. So as we go ahead, we will see that the complexity of the organisms will keep on increasing. So here, if you compare it with Porifera, the body differentiation is better. That means it is no more a cellular level of organization. The body is no more just an aggregate of cell. The cells will be more better differentiated, they will be more specialized to perform specific functions, and that is why they have a tissue level of organization. Okay, now talking about the layers of cells which form the body, they are made up of two layers of cells and a gastrovascular cavity. So here we have one cavity and also two layers of cells. Now we didn't see anything like that in case of Porifers. There was not much concept of that. Here, what I mean by the layer of cells, I am talking about the ectoderm, endoderm part. So I am talking about that. Tentacles are present, as you can see in this picture. Hydra, the picture is of Hydra, which is a classic example of Coelentrata, and they have got tentacles. Now these tentacles are again very much useful because they perform several important functions, like it helps in intake of food. It is a flexible, mobile and elongated organ. So this Hydra also have some stinging structures. So here you can see some small structures on the Hydra. They actually help to catch prey. So whenever it sees a prey, the prey gets stuck to these structures, and that is how it catches prey. Tissue level of organization, prefer aquatic habitats. However, they are mostly marine. Examples would be sea anemone and coral. However, there are some Hydra which are freshwater as well. For example, Hydra may live in colonies or in isolation. So there are some coelentrates which live alone, while there are some others which live together. I mean, many coelentrates live together forming a colony. So example of coelentrates which live in isolation would be Hydra. Example of coelentrates which live in colonies would be sea anemone. They are also known as cnidaria. Why are they known as cnidaria? Because of the presence of a specific structure known as cnidoblasts. We will come to that a little later, but this is just another name for Coelentrata, that is cnidaria. Now, by the way, how did it get its name Coelentrata? Now, there are many different ways in which people pronounce it. Some of them call this Coelentrata, some call it Coelentrata. So again, the pronunciation is different in different places. So now, if you look at the derivation of this word, this part, coelen, is basically derived from this word koilos, which means full-bellied. So why is it full-bellied? That is because of the presence of this cavity. Since you have a specific cavity here which resembles a belly, that is why they are known as Coelentrata. Now, in case of Porifers, they were immobile. But if we talk about coelentrates, they can be free swimming. Some of them are free swimming and some of them are, however, sessile, that is, they do not move. So it again depends. Some are movable, some are not movable. So we will talk about Coelentrata in more detail as we go ahead. So they are mobile. Let us look at some of the examples of coelentrates. Hydra, one of the best examples. So talking about some of the features of Hydra, these are freshwater. They are seen in freshwater and they live in isolation. Jellyfish is again a coelenterate which lives in isolation. So because of its jelly-like appearance, it is known as jellyfish. Corals. So these are the corals. Corals are mostly marine. It is seen in the sea waters. The sea anemone. So even in corals, you see they are in colonies. They are not in isolation. The sea anemone, again, the sea anemone also exists in colonies. Now, I have just given a few examples, but other than these also there are a hell lot of examples, because around 9,000 species of coelenterates exist. And that's a good number. So a lot of species belonging to this phylum exist, but since most of them are marine, so we do not get to see them so often. Now, if you look at these pictures, sometimes looking at them, we can't even imagine that, okay, these are all animals. They sometimes don't look like animals. If you look at these corals, I mean, they look like some aquatic plants, but actually they are not. Actually, they are animals. Now, how do we know that they are animals? Because they are satisfying so many features which resemble them to animals. So now it is time that we will talk about the structure of coelenterates in more detail. Okay, so let us look at the structure of Coelentrata. So first, by looking at the picture of Hydra, let us look at some of the basic things which they have. As I mentioned before also, their body consists of two layers of cells. This is the outer layer and this is the inner layer. So these are the two layers of cells, and in between these two layers is present a jelly-like substance. A jelly-like substance is present in between, which actually gives a lot of flexibility to the animal. Other than that, these tentacles are present, which helps in food intake and which also helps in catching prey, because we have got these stinging structures on the tentacles. They have a hollow gut, that is this hollow cavity which is present, that is from where they get their name coelenterates. So this hollow gut with a single opening. So they have a single opening here which leads to this hollow gut, a small opening here leading to this hollow gut. So this is the basic structure of the coelenterates. Now we will talk about the structure in detail. Now these are diploblastic. That is, they have one ectoderm and one endoderm. That is, they are derived from, in the embryonic stage, they had two germ layers, the ectoderm and the endoderm. So now in this figure, if you want to know which is ectoderm and which is endoderm, you know ectoderm is this one and endoderm is this one. Right? And between ectoderm and endoderm, what is present? That is known as mesoglia. Right? Now, if you look at, so diploblastic part is clear. So that is why coelenterates are diploblastic. That is two-layered body wall, ectoderm and endoderm. Next part is acoelomate, that is, they do not have a coelom. Now you might be wondering that till now I was talking about some cavity which is present inside, but now I say that there is no coelom. What is that? Why is that difference? Now if you try to remember the definition of coelom, what is coelom? It is the cavity between the gut wall and the body wall, or between the digestive tract wall and the body wall. Now here, the cavity which I am talking about is the total internal cavity. So there is no gut wall and no body wall. In fact, it is at tissue level of organization. So you do not even have a proper digestive tract. So there is no existence of any cavity between the gut wall and body wall, and that is why they are acoelomate. However, a central gastrovascular cavity with a single opening, which is known as hypostome, exists. So this is the gastrovascular cavity. This is your gastrovascular cavity. And this one is the hypostome. That is the opening to the outside. So hypostome is often considered to be the mouth of hydra. So you can consider hypostome as mouth of hydra. So what is the purpose of hypostome? It helps in intake of food. So ingestion is its purpose. Specialized stinging cells are present in tentacles and they are known as cnidoblasts. Because of their presence, they are also known as cnidaria. So these stinging cells here, I was talking about them, right? They help in catching the prey. So they are known as cnidoblasts. Right? Cnidoblasts contain poison-filled nematocysts. Now, because of this, what is special in cnidoblasts that they help in catching prey? These cnidoblasts will have some cysts, that is some fluid-filled objects in them. And they will be, what is that fluid which is present in those cysts? They are poison. Now, whenever this cnidoblasts will come in contact with some other organism, that poison will act on that organism and that organism will die. And then Hydra can consume that organism. So due to the presence of this poison-filled nematocyst, the cnidoblasts help in catching prey. And due to the presence of this cnidoblasts, Coelentrata are also known as cnidaria. Now, if you look at the structure of hypostome in little more detail, we'll see that the external surface of the hypostome contain sensory hairs and spring-like structures which surrounds the mouth. So this area is surrounded by hair-like structures. Why do we have those hair-like structures and all those stuff there? So that during ingestion of food, it helps. Now, did you notice one thing here? You just have one hollow cavity, that is the gastrovascular cavity, and one opening. So intake of food happens through that opening. What about the throwing out of food? What helps in egestion? So here you have just one opening which helps both in ingestion as well as egestion. That means your intake of food also happens through this opening, and your throwing out of undigested food also happens through the same opening. So you just have one opening here. So that is another important thing to be noted here. So now if you look at the structure of the hydra as a whole, the entire structure can be broadly divided into three parts. That is head. So the upper portion is known as head. The middle portion is known as body. And the lower portion is the foot. So broadly, this is how you can classify the entire structure of the hydra. So this is the basic structure of an animal falling under Coelentrata. Now, another question that can arise in your mind is, now here we have ectoderm and endoderm. So what do these ectoderm and endoderm do? In a mature individual, what will the ectoderm and endoderm actually form later? Now, this ectoderm contains the muscle fibers connected to the nerve nets. So the ectoderm actually forms a primitive form of nervous system, and these muscle and nerve cells helps in movement of tentacles. So the ectoderm actually contains the muscle cells and nerve cells, a primitive type of nervous system which helps in movement. These movement happens in the form of the movement of the tentacles. Talking about the endoderm, it lines the gastrovascular cavity and it secretes digestive enzymes, because the digestion happens inside this cavity. For digestion to take place, you need digestive enzymes to break down food into simpler form. So those digestive enzymes are given by the endoderm. That is the endodermal cells, because endoderm is nothing but a collection of cells. So the cells of endoderm will give out the digestive enzymes, and the cells of ectoderm helps in movement of the tentacles. Okay, so with this, thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.